Welcome to the Impact Disciple Making Podcast. I'm Mike Keaton, your host, and I am here with Ken Adams, lead pastor of Crossroads Church, Newnan, Georgia, as well as the founder of Impact Discipleship Ministries. And we've been having conversations about disciple making. And so we've been talking about different things that disciple making requires. And so today's topic is that disciple making requires experience. And so we've talked about some tools and so forth. Do you think then, Ken, that it is necessary to get out of the classroom, out of the huddle group time, maybe even away from the book or something like that?
Absolutely. You know, when you go back and you look at the model that Jesus gave us for how to make disciples, you know, there was a certain amount of time that Jesus was teaching, and he was obviously making sure that they had a certain amount of information, but that's not all he did. In fact, because of the fact that he was spending so much time being with them, then they not only got teaching, but they got very hands-on, practical ministry. You know, if we put it in another setting, it would be like maybe taking a class in college that was a lecture, but then a laboratory. And so Jesus gave them both sides. He gave them the classroom experience, but then he gave them the hands-on, very practical, watching him do things so that they got a first-hand experience with that. So Jesus clearly made disciples by modeling what he wanted them to do. One of the best examples that I can think of about that, Mike, is Jesus teaching his disciples how to pray. You know, what Jesus would do is that Jesus would go, the Bible tells us that Jesus would go off early in the morning and he would go to a solitary place and he would pray. Well, if you think about that, the disciples were watching that, and they would see Jesus go off and pray, and then he would come back and he would teach some pretty powerful things, and then they would watch him go off the next day and he would pray, and then he would come back and he would perform miracles, and then they would watch that happen, and then they would go off again, and they would see him pray, and he would come back and he would heal people or do other things that were pretty amazing. And so after watching that for a period of time, their response was, we want to know how to do that. And so teach us how to do that. Mm-hmm. So Jesus never said, turn in your discipleship books too, and the lesson on prayer. Jesus just prayed. He just gave them very hands-on experiences. And so then their response was, Lord, teach us how to do that. And so then we see it in Luke chapter 11, verse 1. It says, and now Jesus was praying in a certain place, and when he finished, one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us how to pray. So they literally learned how to pray because they saw Jesus pray. And Mike, he didn't just do that with prayer. This is how he taught them how to share the gospel, because they watched him do that. This is how they saw him care for people and minister to people, because they watched him do that. And so over and over and over again, Jesus was not just giving them lectures. Jesus was giving them hands-on ministry experience. He was literally taking them into the field of ministry, if you will. I believe this is the same reason why Paul says that older women ought to be teaching younger women, and older men ought to be teaching younger men, because they need that experience that can only come over time.
So would you say then that it's giving people true to life situations is needed?
Yeah, I think that's probably the missing link today in disciple making in the local church. You know, we're really big on classrooms. We're big on Sunday school classes. We're big on small groups. We're really big on curriculum. We've got more curriculum published for discipleship than probably ever before. But what we're really, really short on is we're really short on taking people along with us and showing them what it looks like to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. You know, a great example would be, you know, if you were to think of some analogy, maybe a best analogy would be learning how to water ski or how to ride a bull.
Right.
The best way to water ski is to get in the water.
That's right.
The best way to learn to ride a bull is to get on a bull. And so it's pretty hard to learn how to ride a bull by reading a book, or how to water ski by watching it on a computer. Sooner or later, you got to get your hands on a rope pulled by a boat, or you got to get your hands on a bull.
That's right.
So that's the same thing with disciple making. At some point, you've got to get past a book, a CD or a DVD, and you got to practice it. You got to apply it.
That's right.
You really do.
That really makes a lot of sense. I really do hope that this helps you in your efforts, in your disciple-making efforts, is to get to the point where you're leading your groups and you're leading your people into those life experiences that will help mold and take them to that level where they need to be. Join us next time as we continue our conversations about disciple-making.